Welcome everybody to Astrology Unplugged. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and we're going to be looking at people's different sign potentialities in their zodiac. If you're running Solar Fire, there is on one of the pages a man somewhere, I can't remember where, tried to do this computer-wise. He tried to computerize. Your Scorpio is the strongest thing in your chart, then your Pisces is strong, then your Capricorn is strong, and he failed miserably because you can't do it. And he calls them Zion, what the Astrodynes, Dynes, and he tries to come up with a formula for which signs in your zodiac are stronger than others. Okay? And you just can't do it. You can get close, you can get sort of, kind of, but a computer cannot do it. It takes a human being with a lot of experience, and I'm going to show you that tonight. So tonight is about how your sun sign gets so overplayed in this society, and we're so personally glued to it that we don't understand that we have other signs in our chart that are very, very strong. Okay, and I'm going to tell you the general rule for one leg to stand on here. Okay, she's the rule keeper. Most people have a sun sign, and they have about 3 or 4 other signs in their chart very strong. Almost everybody has 3 or 4 others. Not 5, not 6, not 7, not 2. Most of them is 3 or 4. Okay? That's just what you see after you look at thousands of charts. Some people have 5, maybe. But I'm going to show you how you look at a chart and how you can tell that this sign is particularly strong in your chart and this sign isn't. Okay, now, number 1, I wanted to say something to you before I got started tonight. Something I wrote on Facebook, and I think it went right past some people. Okay, I want you to understand this. Martin Luther King's chart, even though his body is dead, his sun is at 26-27 Capricorn, which is significant. Why? Martin Luther King's at 26th of Capricorn, which is significant. Why?
Because Pluto's there right now?
Exactly, Claudia, because Pluto is sitting there, and Pluto has been squaring Eris at the same place, and the Pluto return for the country is only 1 degree away. In other words, Pluto is on the sun. So when you look out in the streets and you see these Black people and these African American people that are fed up and they're not going to take anymore, it's not just because of Eris. It is because of Eris, but it's because Pluto is on his chart. The leader of a movement, his chart or her chart becomes the chart of that movement. It just does. You're not going to get any sense out of this. You're not going to get reason out of this. This is just how it works archetypally. It's how it works quantumly. His chart is the Black movement. And don't tell me you can't looking out on TV and you can't see the difference. This ain't like 1975. This ain't like 1991. You can tell a big difference in the Black movement. They've had it. Okay? But I'm telling you this to show you how an individual's chart can become much more than a movement's chart. Huh, John? Dr. John. It can represent lots. For instance, you might see Bob Dylan's chart get hit real big some year, and all of a sudden everybody's writing songs. The head of a movement is very symbolic of the movement itself. I don't know who the famous person was that said that a movement will last as long as the leader, the founder, lives. Because after the founder dies, someone else takes over that person's view. So I think there's some truth to that. But as long as Pluto's going back and forth over Mr. Martin Luther King's sun in his chart, and as long as Eris is going back and forth, which is several, 4, 5, 6 more years, this movement is on its head. Okay? Don't try to reason with somebody. Don't try to argue why. It's just the way it is. And that's why we were all in la la land for 4 years with Mr. La La in the White House. Because that was the chart that was ruling the planet. Not just the US, but the planet. And it could come back. Now, why tonight's subject? Tonight's subject is right down one leg to stand on in Cleveland. It's right down her territory because I want to show you how you can tell what your signs are real strong. There's no add water and mix and you're going to be able to know how to do it. This takes years and years of practice, but I'm going to give you a little hint on it. And remember, this is like episode 222. So out of those 222, you'll go back and you'll find one of these weeks covered how to weight a planet, W-E-I-G-H-T. Why is this planet more stronger than that planet? Okay, so that video, that episode is very similar to what's going on tonight. Now, one of the things you need to do, in case you don't know, is go to the following website. Maybe you could open up another tab, or /maybe you can write it down for later. Go to starself.com/class/planets.jpg. starself.com/class/planets.jpg, and you will get the following. You will get the following chart. You should all have this chart printed out and nearby, or at least on your computer somewhere. And again, the website is starself.com/class/planets.jpg. Now, there's a lot to this teaching chart, but the main thing I want you to look at tonight is what planet rules what sign. You're going to need to know this. And it's time that you do know this. What planet rules what sign? Okay, now, so I suggest you print this for your own self and you get this memorized, and it ain't that hard. All right, because we're going to see how a person is very Piscean by having a strong Neptune. Now, a planet and a sign are different, but yet they're very similar. Very hard to explain why. A planet rules a sign. You'll hear me interchangeably talk about Pisces and Neptune. You always hear me talk about Jupiter and Sag, Venus and Taurus. They're interchangeable. They're different, but yet they're similar. And there are some elements to astrology you just have to know. You have to know what planet rules what sign. Okay, the sun rules Leo. Leo people are very sun-like. Look at the Leo traits. They're very much like the traits of the sun. The moon rules what sign? Cancers. Moon people are very Cancer-like. Cancer people are very lunar. They're not exactly the same, but you got to know this, just like a hammer and a chisel. They're that important. They're that elemental. Mercury now gets more complex. Mercury rules Virgo, but it mainly rules Gemini. Now, back in the old days, stay with me, Marcia. Back in the old days, Mercury ruled Gemini, and it also ruled Virgo because we didn't have enough planets. Back in the old days, you only had through Saturn. You only had Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. We only had 7 planets. We had 12 signs. So some signs have to do double duty. So Mercury is definitely clearly the ruler of Gemini. In my modern thinking, I think Chiron is the ruler of Virgo. But no matter whether Chiron rules Virgo or not, Mercury does rule both of these signs. These are called traditional rulers. Mars is the ruler of Aries, there's no doubt. It also co-rules Scorpio because these things were followed way before Pluto was founded in 1930. Jupiter is the ruler of Sag, and Jupiter is also the ruler of Pisces. And it makes a lot of sense when you do deep astrology, but Jupiter is mainly lined up with Sagittarius. Saturn is very Capricornian. It's also a co-ruler of Aquarius. So Aquarius actually has two rulers, Saturn and Uranus. And Aquarius was founded way before Uranus was founded. That's why you have the confusion. Neptune rules Pisces, Pluto rules Scorpio. So it's very, very important that you get these in your head. Okay, now when I start doing charts, you'll start to see why. All right, let me give you an example here. Now, I think I'll get to that one in a minute. I'm not going to go into Colleen's chart because I just explained it to her. But Colleen, I will show it to her because I want her to see it again. Okay, this is Colleen's chart. All right. Why can't I get this chart on the screen? There we go. All right, here we go. In Colleen's chart, even though Colleen is a Scorpio, she is a Scorpio. Here's the sun in Scorpio. And all your sun sign means is that your sun was going through that sign for 30 days when you were born. That's what a sun sign is. But some people, the sun is not that important in their chart. Other people, it's real important. All planets can be strongly placed or weakly placed. That comes from years of experience. So in her chart, she's got very strong Leo because of the fact that her moon is in Leo. She's got Leo rising, and she's got Uranus in Leo at the ascendant. In astrology, planets that are bunched up around the ascendant, that are bunched up around the nadir, that are bunched up around the descendant, that are bunched up around the midheaven, you're a lot like that planet. So with Chiron here, and I think Chiron is the ruler of Virgo, there's a lot of people that do think that. Probably 2/3 of astrologers think that these days. Colleen picks up a lot of Virgo attributes, or I should say, Chironistic attributes. That's the healer that's in her. She picks up moon in Leo. She's very Leo-like. She's very Aquarian because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So the answer to her, the other final one, is Neptune. So she's very Piscean because Neptune is by her sun. So the answer to her main signs in her chart are Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, Virgo, Pisces. Do you understand me, Colleen?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Very good. Thank you. And I'll move on to
thank
John.
you.
You are welcome. Now, what does this mean to you when you know that? It doesn't mean you can get an easy formula out of it. It just means that you have a lot of those traits. You've all read in books where your sun sign sounded like you and other parts of it didn't sound like you. This is the reason. Okay? Let's go to John. Let's go to John, and you'll learn more and more as we go through all these people. Mr. John Hayes. John, I really should start wearing my glasses more. Okay, he's not in here. Okay, that's the recording is on. We'll go to John Hayes's chart. Okay. John is a very super Gemini. So, without a doubt, you want to say Gemini, 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 Gemini. We know Gemini is real strong in his chart. Secondly, without a doubt, the next main powerful energy in his chart is Pluto. So he's Plutonian, and Pluto rules Scorpio. So he's very scorpionic, married to a Scorpio woman. This is the reason why. He's got a lot of Scorpio energy to match up with her. Now, he's got the Leo rising. We don't know how big that is. Yet we don't know enough by just looking at it because he doesn't come across as very Leonine. But what does he have here? He's got the sun next to Saturn. I would say the sun being your main planet, I would say he's very Capricornian. He is a lawyer. He's got that ability to dig down, dig in. Well, Gemini is not the sign of a lawyer. Gemini's too restless, moving around. But he gets the stamina from the moon in Aquarius. I'm sorry, the moon in Scorpio, the Pluto rising, and Saturn next to his sun. So right away, John, you pick up Capricorn here, you pick up Scorpio here, and you pick up Scorpio here. Now, since your moon is all by itself, you pick up a lot of Cancer energy. You pick up lunar energy because the moon is by itself. The moon is strong. What does that mean? Usually Gemini men are not very emotional. They don't have much TLC. But you got an amplified moon by virtue of the fact that it's out here by itself. So you are lunar, and this stuff does give you emotions. So we see a little Sag energy here coming on with Jupiter next to Mercury, and Jupiter is so similar to Gemini anyway, so I would give you a little bit of Sag energy. So your main energies are, without a doubt, Gemini, real big, Capricorn, Scorpio, and this T-square also goes to Jupiter. So because that Jupiter is real big, I put a big amount of weight upon your Sagittarius. Those are your main ones. But did you see how I did it? I looked at planets near the angles. I did planets near the sun. I did planets that are at the point of a T-square. This is how a planet gets big. And when your Neptune is big, you're Piscean, because Neptune rules Pisces. And when your Jupiter is big, you're Sagittarian, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. That's why you really have to have these memorized. Now, here's a really interesting story. Let's see, I want to see, this left and right thing on Zoom is very confusing. Is this on your right side? That's your left side. Okay.
Left.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. When I was married, my wife at the time, in her chart she still does, she had the moon in Virgo over by the descendant over here. The moon in Virgo. And for many, many years, I thought she was very Virgoan because of that. And she was very particular. She was very hardworking, all the Virgo traits, very neat, get things in order, got things done, and she was picky. But I finally learned after 20 some years with the moon over there, she was mostly Cancerian. She was lunar. There was nothing in Cancer there, but the moon itself was being highlighted. And I learned after 20 some years, I taught her class in 1982, she was very lunar. That's why she went to family picnics and family affairs, and the family was so important, and tradition, and very sensitive to cats and dogs, and very, very Cancerian. So I learned when a planet is strong, you are much like that planet. If you have a T-square to Mars, you're very Martian. If you have a T-square to Neptune, you're very Neptunian, which can translate you're very Piscean. The T-squared of Mars, you're very Martian, you're very Aryan. So that's why it's so critical that you know what signs these planets rule. If you got a T-square to Saturn, you're very Saturnian, which probably means you're quite a Capricornian. This is where this comes from. They're almost interchangeable, but they're not quite. And don't kid yourself to think that you're not going to need to learn these. You have to know these things. There's not a lot of things you do where you have to. This is one of them. Okay, John, makes sense? Thank you very much. Miss Anita. Miss Anita on the telephone. All right. Okay, Anita on the telephone. Here we go. All right. I often wondered, because I never knew your birth time till recently, and then when I got the birth time, it really put everything in place. You see, without the birth time, here's a 7:35 birth time, which locks the planets in the houses. If you're born at sunrise, your sun is over here. If you're born at noon, your sun is up here. If you're born at sunset, the sun is up here. If you're born at midnight, the sun is down here. The zodiac turns with it. So, in Anita's chart, she's very Cancerian for sure. And she's got 4 planets in Cancer, so she's very Cancerian. All right. What do you see next sticking out? Sag is rising and Mars is rising. So she's very Martian, which means Aryan, and she's very Sagittarian. And I didn't know, for years she's been doing all this different hiking and biking. I didn't know this about her life. And this is where this comes from. She's very Martian or Aryan. She's very Sagittarian, loving in the outdoors. Okay, this is loving the indoors. This is loving the outdoors. Okay, what else is extremely powerful? Neptune, because it's sitting right on the midheaven. So there's your answers for her. She's got some Leo in her. She's got some Virgo in her, but she's really, really Neptunian or Pisces, a spiritual, tender, sensitive healer. She's very Martian or Sagittarian or Aries, and she's extremely Cancerian. And I would say, with this Uranus involved here, 22, 26, 23, I would think there's a pretty strong sense of Aquarius there too, because she just seems to have kind of a free spirit attitude. Anita, does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah, that really does. The Chicks song Wide Open Spaces, that really comes to mind. I'm very much connected to wherever I am. And I think that's the Cancer in me. I can create a home almost anywhere.
Yes, and I will say this to you, I don't understand this yet because it's a new planet, but they're trying to tell us that Eris is the ruling planet of Libra. And I'm not buying it just yet. And Eris is a newbie. He's only been around about 16 years or so. So you got a bucket pattern to Eris. So you're very Erisian. So if you read the life story of Eris, it should really vibrate with you, which is the whole thing about fighting for the underdog, making sure things are fair, making sure things are just. Those are very Erisian. They're not Cancerian, they're Erisian.
Yeah, those are very mean.
But I can't tell you for sure, certain at this point that you're Libran because of this, because I just haven't studied it enough. But does that make sense to you? That's your grouping.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Thanks.
You are welcome. Did you want to say something else?
No. I just said I will look at that in more detail.
Yeah, and to all of you, and I'm really exclaiming this very heavily, buy the book Discovering Eris. Amazon. Marcia read it. Excellent book. Discovering Eras. Linda read it. Now, the first half of that book is heavy duty mythology. The second half is brilliantly written about the nature of Eris. And this is the planet that's on us now, but nobody knows it. No one's talk about it but me, or very few people. So in time, we will learn more about, well, how Libran it is. The author's name is Legrice. The last name is Legrice. L-E capital G, Legrice, Legrice. Discovering Eris, Legrice. Excellent book. Let's go to Nancy P, as in Pfeiffer. Okay, we're going to ask you to unmute. We're going to go to your chart. Okay, now. Okay, so we're going to get your chart on the screen. All right. Now we see interesting things right away. Okay, first thing we do here is we question this. We cannot know for a fact. She will never know in her lifetime whether Pisces is rising or not. For about 30 seconds later, she would have Aries rising. When it's this close and the birth time's 059, I know they're looking at the clock, but that doesn't mean the clock was right. When my son was born, I had to adjust it by 5 minutes, the clock in the delivery room. So we do not know whether you have Pisces rising or you have Aries rising. Okay, that's some question.
Okay.
If I were to read for you personally, I would keep that question foremost in my mind. And if you were my client, I'd keep my eye on that, because throughout your life, we would generally, in time, we would learn whether you're basically Aryan or you're basically Piscean, because your rising sign has a lot to do with your nature. So anyhow, that's one thing that we unfortunately don't know. Now, we know right here, here's Mars. Boom. Now that's a vote for Aries rising. Here's Mars, very strong, exalted in Capricorn. That means the best place Mars can be is in Capricorn, and Mars is opposite her sun. Got a Cancer. The sun is opposite Mars. She's got possibly Aries rising. So you are very Aryan, just like the last chart. You also got Sag at the top, just like the last chart, just like the last chart. She's a Cancer too. So you have a lot of things in common. Now, this is very, very powerful. When Mercury is next to Uranus, that's the mind. And when the mind is next door to the most mental planet there is, Uranus, you're very Aquarian. You're very Aquarian. So one reason you and Anita have so much in common for so long is the Cancer stuff, but you're also very Aquarian, you're very Martian, and you're very Sagittarian. This is the reason that you're drawn more towards her than another, let's say, typical Cancer. Now, look here. This is pretty much a bucket pattern to the moon. See this? Here's a bucket pattern to the moon. So she's very lunar, but she's already a Cancer. So it's not that big of a deal. So in general, I would say to you, you do have a T-square 22, 27, 23. I would keep an eye on this Neptune. You got 22, 23, 27. I think this Neptune is pretty strong. So you've got just about the same planets Anita has. Pisces, Aries, Cancer, 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 a bit of Taurus because the moon's in Taurus. Sagittarius, because the sun is next to Sag. Aquarius, Mercury's next to Uranus. That make sense to you?
Yep.
Those are your main energies, not in that order. Now, like I said, in Solar Fire, you could click on Astrodynes. It's an option in the menus, and it gives you a list. She's 33% Earth, and she's 20% air. I just don't buy it. And I've tried to, and it was a noble effort, but it doesn't work. Shelley. Shelley.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Let's get Shelley here going. Ask to unmute. Okay, Shelley's ready to go. Shelley. Hold on one moment. And recording. Okay, we're on Shelley now. Here you go, Shelley. All right. Shelley's another Cancer. Did I say everybody had to be Cancers? Okay, we got them lined up tonight. Wonder what's causing that. Okay, we got a Cancer, we got Cancer rising. Okay, so that's a real big deal. All right. We got Scorpio because the moon is in Scorpio, and we got moon next to Saturn, so we got Capricorn energy. This is very much a Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn type of conjunction. Cancer, because she is one, and it's the moon. Capricorn, because the moon's next to Saturn. And Plutonian or Scorpio, because she got all the Scorpio energy. What else do we see? We got 3 people in a row that are similar. Look at the T-square to Neptune. See the big triangle to Neptune? That's Pisces energy. That's the kind of people that watch this show, Piscean, because they're interested in things beyond the physical. Okay? Astrology is mainly Uranian, but a lot of Neptunian people gravitate towards it also. All right. Now, you've got the Cancer. We don't know what your rising sign is for the same reason. 049, even though you're born at 432, you could very well have Gemini rising. 29 Gemini. We don't know. So don't worry about that. We see another bucket pattern up to Eris, but mainly yours is pretty simple. A lot simpler than the other ones before. Saturnian or Capricorn, Scorpionic, lunar, very Cancer, okay? And those are your main energies. So in your case, it's like 3, and the Neptune, 4, the Pisces energy, very strong. So when you do something like this, you also make note of what you're saying. In other words, Pisces stuff and Cancer stuff are kind of similar. So you get a nice watery blend. Maybe with this person, maybe she's too watery. What's that mean? She cries easily. She gets your feelings hurt easily. That's a Cancerian trait anyway. Now you got Neptune there. So yes, you can start combining things to start seeing. But she's Scorpionic. Scorpios don't let people, they don't like letting people see their weakness or crying, etc. Maybe she's so Cancerian, she doesn't care if they see it. All I'm saying to you is these are your main energies. Now, does that make sense to you, Shelley?
Completely, complete.
Does it?
Yes, completely.
How is that?
Well, the Scorpio, I tend to feel more scorpionic than Cancer a lot of times. It's not because I am more secretive. I'm more, and it's not weakness that I don't want them to see. I don't feel emotional crying a lot, but I feel emotional. I feel sensitive.
Well, it's not so much weakness. That's part of it. Scorpio don't want people to know how they feel. They want to keep things secret because they kid themselves into thinking that it's going to help them, and it really doesn't. Okay, very good, Shelley.
Thank you, Rick.
Very good. But you see what I'm doing now with everybody? How it's falling together? Okay, let's go to Claudia. Ain't seen her in a long time. Let's get Claudia up here. Okay. Claudia. All right. Now, it's the same theory over and over. In Claudia's chart, she's a Leo. Okay. She's got Taurus rising. She got a moon in Pisces. And she got Jupiter in Pisces. These are pretty strong, even though they're not conjunct because they're 11 degrees apart. I would think that she's got a pretty strong Neptune in her chart, or Neptunian or Pisces. And look here, T-square. See the T-square to Neptune? So now we know for sure that she's very Leonine and she's very Piscean. Okay, now let's stop there for a minute. See, this is where advanced astrology comes in. Leos, especially Leo women, are known for being very generous people. Not so much the men. Can be. Leos are giving. They love to, they're one of the signs of love. They're known as the lover. They give love and they like to see things blossom. Now you got a Pisces, a double Pisces here with T squared to Neptune, and you got a Leo personality. So we know with Claudia, that she's got a strong heart. Now you have to shift to the other axis. You have to say, boy, is it too much? Is it too watery? So now's when you want some of that solar strength to come through with a stiffer, tighter, stronger backbone. That's Leo. So that gives you the ability to not always crying like the lion in the movie, right? But it's all a matter of balancing. So what else do we see here? Okay. She's very lunar. She's very Piscean. She's very solar because of the sun. This is very important here. This Venus square, this Venus next to Saturn, I think gives her, I was just reading for her 2 days ago. I think this makes her very Capricornian. See, and you have to understand, and that's one reason I keep harping on the book that we wrote about the chapter with the 6 polarities. Cancer, Capricorn. They're a lot alike, but yet they're different. All 6 polarities are a lot like the sign opposite, but yet they're different. So Cancer, Capricorn's very similar. They're both protective. They're both security bound. They're both about making sure. So I think we've got Claudia pretty much settled here. She's a Leo, extremely Piscean. She's got Scorpio in her chart. She's got Pisces in her chart, and she's got Capricorn. Does it make sense to you?
It does. I've always felt very Piscean, and I'm a Leo, so now I get why I absolutely resonate more with that watery side of me. Even though in many ways I very much am like a Leo, but internally I just feel very much like a Pisces.
Well, I think you're exactly right. And I want to mention something about that in addition here. What is Leo about? Leo is the sun is coming through you, and the sun is saying to you, because it remembers that you were just a Cancer. And the difficulty with being a Cancer, it's very easy to get your feelings hurt because feelings are a new thing to Cancer. So what the sun does and what the archetype of Leo does to you, gives to you, is this sense of, I'm not wrong, it's you that's wrong. It can't be me, Mr. De Niro. It's you that's wrong, not me. But see, that works very different on the female than it does on the male. Because males are just more arrogant. So you'll have much more trouble with the arrogant part of Leo. You have much more trouble with that with the males than you will the women. Okay? But see, but it may seem like a strange combination, but to me, I think it's a very nice blend to mix the Leo energy with the Pisces. Even though they're in conjunct to each other, they're 5 signs away. Okay? I think it's a very nice blend. And if anything, I think you've needed to you know, that Saturn, we talked about that Saturn on your Venus. That Saturn is very much a savior in your chart because it makes you tough and it makes you
Yeah.
withstand
Hmm.
being targeted. Okay?
Thanks, Rick.
You are welcome. Thank you. Let me move on. And we got Miss Erica. Miss Erica is a Taurus with, I'll get you unmuted. Let's look at Erica. Her chart's pretty fascinating, really, because there's a lot of energy here. Okay, Erica, here we go. All right. Now look at this. Now we're going to have to use a pencil here. Okay? A lot of things happening. Erica is a Taurus. She's got Neptune rising. So we know right away she's very Neptunian or Piscean. She's very Leonine. 3 planets. Boom, boom, boom. So we got Taurus, Pisces, Leo. I don't consider Libra because Libra is a rather weak sign for a rising sign. It's more of a transparent piece of glass that you look through as opposed to being a force as of yet, just looking at one planet. We mainly see here Sun in Taurus, Pisces energy, Leo here, and we can't discount this, Erica. Your Sun is opposite Chiron. This is the Virgo energy. So I would think that your Virgo energy is very strong because it's involved in a very important T-square. It goes over to the Sun, and the Sun makes the T-square to where? Mainly 2 degrees Leo. So I would say, Erica, you're very Capricornian because of the Saturn, and the Saturn is very conducive to you being a Taurus. Now look over here. What I got to say. Simple. Bunch of Aries. So I think your chart's settled itself pretty easily here. The Taurus energy, lots of Aries, lots of Leo, lots of Pisces, Virgo, and a touch of Capricorn. So you're getting like 6 signs there. And that is not unusual to get 5 or 6. And most people don't go as far as 7. But you've got about 6 there. And I would say if I talked to you in detail, we would see that you got a strong Aries sense. You got a strong Taurus sense. I think you obviously have a strong Leo sense. You're strong and you're expressive. You're certainly very sensitive with the Neptune. And I think the Chiron is certainly there, you know, in terms of being a healer. I think Chiron people with Chiron and Scorpio are very strong. Chiron only stays in a sign. Chiron's very irregular. I think it's only in Scorpio for about 4 years. It's in some signs for 2, sometimes some signs for 12. It's very irregular, elliptical orbit. But I really like the looks of that. I think a Chiron would be really strong in Scorpio. And I'll tell you how I would find out more about that. The one thing people have in common with Chiron is we all have the return around age 51. Now, we all have the Chiron opposite Chiron or Chiron squaring Chiron at completely different times because the orbit's so weird. But we all have the return around age 51 being very tumultuous and very strong. Now, since Chiron represents your wounded healer, we would say that the wound to you and the people in your class in high school, probably the class before you, a couple classes after you, the wound is basically scorpionic, which means that it could have to do with sharing passions. It could be sexual. It could be, I would think the main thing about it is the ability to have intimate relationship. So with that in mind, I want to go to your age 51 and ask you, Age 51 was 98. In 1998, let's give it a year each way, 97, 98, 99, during your Chiron return, what happened in those regards?
Well, my husband and I were going through some tough times financially and in terms of, job situation. And yeah, things kind of got turned upside down. And that Chiron is in my second house of, possessions and what you owe.
It rules other people's money.
Yeah, and my son is in the 8th house, which is also scorpionic and other people's money as well.
But did you have a turning point as far as your ability to be intimate with somebody, your ability to be close with somebody?
Well, I mean, we kind of weathered that, as a couple, and we ended up buying a house in the neighborhood. We turned it around. We created situations and jobs and income, and we really kind of were able to root ourselves into the neighborhood because we were renting.
Okay, you see that word again? That's the critical word with Taurus. Root ourselves, anchor.
Yes.
Get anchored in. So what that tells me is that I don't think we know much about at the moment about the intimacy stuff. But what I'm giving you is a big check mark because you probably solved more things than you thought about the intimacy stuff, which means you allowed yourself out. You allowed yourself to come out of yourself. And so that's why you were able to get a new house and get re-anchored and all that, those good signs, because you did the opposite of what the Chiron in Scorpio meant. That's a very good sign. It
was also a very difficult thing because we had moved from the East Coast out here to the West Coast, and we suddenly got planted in a neighborhood where there are all these millionaires and multimillionaires, and here we are, just these average people trying to struggle and get a foothold. And are we going to be able to make it here? And is our daughter going to be shunned or not be able to make friends? How are we going to be able to socialize with people that we can't afford the lifestyle?
The key,
that whole thing.
The key astrologically is you largely solved the problem of Chiron and Scorpio, or else you would not have progressed. It just wouldn't have happened. Okay? I know a woman, a very good friend of mine, she's in her 90s now, a Taurus lady, and we've been very close since I was really little, and she's been living in my hometown all these years, and I heard the other day she got up and moved to Florida to be near her family. So that's when you know Uranus is going through Taurus. When you get a Taurus to actually uproot after 92 years in the same town, and she's living somewhere else now. So I think that's really good. Well, that's a very good response, but I think, Eric, I think you got your answer rather clearly as far as your signs.
Thank you very much, Rick. Yeah, definitely.
You're welcome. That makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, let's move on. We're looking at Vicky as being very patient. Where is Vicky being patient? Vicky got impatience. Okay. I don't see Vicky. There's Vicky. Hello, Vicky. From Alaska.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm in a little village off of Kodiak Island.
Oh, I know where that is on the map in the southern part, and just so beautiful, just amazing to me. Let's get your chart up on the screen here, Vicky. All right. Okay, Vicky, there you are. I'm trying to get my screen to behave. There we go. Okay, Vicky. In 1965 and 1960, Uranus started approaching Pluto, and in 1971 was the end of it. 1960 through 1971. That was the 60s. That was caused by these two planets crossing each other, combining together, and they were very explosive. And that's what the 60s were. Therefore, I have thousands of people in my books who are born with the Uranus-Pluto conjunction because they're born sometime in the 60s. All right. Most of them are born with Uranus and Pluto opposite Chiron. Okay, no question there. Notice the grand cross you have. Sun, Saturn, Mars, Neptune, Moon. Very sensitive person. She's an Aquarian, which are usually not real sensitive, but she's very sensitive because the moon is opposite Neptune. Now, what you want to inspect here, do not forget, you got to do some work to inspect the degree. How close is this moon Neptune? Was one 12, the other one 12? No, wasn't that close. One's 12, almost 13, one's 15. That's pretty darn close. Therefore, Vicky, the Neptune's having a very powerful influence on that moon. That means you're very, very sensitive because Neptune's a ruler of Pisces. So we know you got a lot of Pisces. We know you're very Saturnian. Why? Because you got Saturn next to your sun, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and co-ruled by Saturn. Let's talk about that for a moment. In the old days, before 1870, whatever, let me get this right, before 1780, before Uranus was discovered, both Saturn and Uranus were the traditional ruling planets of Aquarius. It just so happens that since Uranus was discovered in 1780, whatever, I have to ask John. If you want to know exactly, ask John, because John does. Anyhow, Aquarius is another name for contrarious. They're all about contrary. It's up and down, what's left and right, what's warm is cold. That's what Aquarius is all about. And they've got one planet that rules them that's uptight. They got another planet that rules them that's the opposite, Saturn and Uranus. That's very common. So when you see an Aquarian anywhere doing anything, most Aquarians will lean towards the Saturn part or towards the Aquarian part. It's just the way it is. And a lot of them go back and forth. They just go back and forth. They flip back and forth. That's why I call them contrarians. All right. Now, so we know she's very Saturnian. We know she's very Aquarian and Capricorn. Right away. Okay. Mars is a question here. We don't know how much the Mars is involved yet. We just don't know yet. Mars is very strong in Leo. Mars is also retrograde. Mars is very strong. We don't know yet how strong. We know the Neptune's very powerful. The moon is very significant because it's a big bucket pattern to the moon. So Miss Vicky is not a traditional, cool, aloof Aquarian. She's a very tender, sensitive woman. Because of the moon being exaggerated, the moon being at the end of a bucket pattern makes her very what? Lunar. The moon is exaggerated because it's out by itself. And the moon gets even softer, Plato, because it's opposite Neptune. We don't know for sure how Sagittarian she is. We don't know for sure how Martian she is. We just don't know. We do have Jupiter involved at 15. Chiron's involved at 6. So for now, to play it safe, I would tell her that she's lunar, she's Taurian, she's Piscean, she's Aquarian, she's Saturnian, and she's certainly Virgoan. That's 6 planets right there. So do you see how I came up with that? Vicki, let's hear from you. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. And you know, the fact that you see that I am sensitive in the chart, whereas the Aquarius isn't, that makes total sense to me, and it's true. And I definitely go back and forth between the Saturn and the Uranus. And it depends on what's happening in my life and what's going on and how those things work out in my life.
Let me point something out to everybody. It takes years to figure out. The Saturn-Uranus dichotomy, the Saturn-Uranus story of Aquarians and the joking of Contrarius is not an insult. It is a compliment. What it means is Aquarians are very able to play loose and goosey with the Uranus. They're also able to play within the rules with the Saturn. They've got the ability to switch back and forth to both. It might drive other people crazy because other people can't do it. But here's where Rebel Without a Cause comes in as a movie with James Dean, the Aquarian. One of the downsides of Aquarian is that they're a rebel without a cause. They're disruptive for no reason other than just being disruptive. This is one of the downsides of Uranus. If you know a person that's like that, that's because of their Uranus. Today I walked by the phone, my girl was on the phone and the person on the other end of the phone was, I had to get out of the room. I don't care what's in that person's chart, that person's Uranian. Okay, that's how Uranus is. Uranus is fast. Okay, so what you really want with the mixture is that ability to be, okay, settle down, let's get something done, constructive. That's the Saturn. Mm-hmm. Then the other part says, okay, let's not be so uptight about things. Let's loosen up, loosey-goosey. That's the Uranus. So it can be a blessing. It can be a blessing. Now, where the moon Neptune comes in, which we've seen several times tonight, is what Neptune does on its negative side is it provides no boundaries. So are you ready for the big emotional sea with Mayor Baba and all the gurus? And are you ready to open your heart to the universe? Or are you just spaced out?
And go back and forth between that.
Okay, so what you have to do with your moon being so unbounded, it's just too much for Americans to dive into the sea, Mr. John Hayes. It's too tough to dive into the sea of emotional oneness because it's just too damn big and we don't have any signposts. So until our country gets more mature like India and we start to learn these types of things, take your Saturn with you, okay? Like a life jacket. Take your Saturn with you and it'll save you. And don't curse your Saturn because it'll be that life jacket that you're looking for in times of trouble. Okay, that's how that one goes. So let's go on to the next.
Thank you.
Makes sense, Vicki?
It does make sense. Thank you.
Okay, you are welcome. I'm trying to keep one leg awake over there. So hold on. And in Cleveland, I'm trying to keep her awake. Where did you go, Ray? By the way, all you fellers out there on YouTube, if you want to ever join us on a Thursday night, just go to Google and type in Astrology Unplugged. It'll give you the link and you can join us 8 o'clock Eastern live on this show. And then this goes up onto YouTube tonight. Ray, you're here with us vocally?
Sure am.
Okay, Ray, I'm going to get your chart. Let's get your chart out. Here's Ray. I got the right one, the January 21st one. Okay. Now, do you see how let me come back to the group for a minute. Okay, to the group. This means yes. This means no. Okay, are you getting the idea what's happening here? Okay, good. I got a whole lot of this. That's good. Now, you can't do it exactly. You can't. But you can get a general idea. And Ray just said, yep. So that means yep. Okay, let's go into Ray. This is a really interesting chart here. See, when I remember people, I don't remember the person. I remember the chart. That's just the way I am. It's called fanatical. I'm born with the sun opposite Uranus. I can't stop it. Okay. Marcia, quit laughing at me. Okay, here's Ray. All right. I've been on here 4 years already. If they're sick of me, they would have turned me off long ago. Okay, Miss Ray is a Aquarian. Look at this great big bucket. Look at the beautifully fanned out planets going to Saturn. She and I have talked a lot about this. Why did she take this lifetime with such a strong Saturn? And there are very good reasons that she did. So we know right away, just like the last Vicky, she's very Aquarian, she's very Saturnian or Capricornian. Now, we don't know if the Cancer rising. We don't know yet. I think Cancer's going to get involved here because Saturn's in Cancer. Cancer is rising. I think Cancer is one of them. But the main two, without a doubt, are the Aquarius and the Capricorn energies. The Jupiter is very strong because it's near the midheaven. Okay? We got a T-square to Saturn. So we know Saturn's even stronger. All right? The moon, let's talk about what that moon is. That moon is squaring Venus. It's kind of out there by itself. We don't know yet. We know this Pluto's pretty strong, opposite Uranus. I'm sorry, opposite Eris. Pluto opposite Eris. Look at these two planets. Same degree, both in Aquarius. This is very Aquarian. Now, are you going to say this is very Libran and this is very Geminian? I don't think so. But I think you could definitely put a Gemini flavor to Ray, which is that flavor of mental curiosity. But she is. So what are we seeing with her? We're seeing Aquarian. We're also seeing an 8th house sun. With an 8th house sun, I think that could pair up with the Pluto down here and give her some Scorpio traits. So I would say if I had to write out a list, Aquarian, certainly Capricorn, Cancer, some Scorpio in there, and Sag Pisces. Sag Pisces. Remember, I've been telling you for weeks now about the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction versus the Jupiter-Neptune square versus the Jupiter-Neptune opposition. They all have to do with interest and spirit. The one square, it's even at 6 degrees, they have to work harder at it because they tend to believe things that are not real when the square is involved or the opposition. So what that means with Ray gets tempted to believe stuff that's not real, but she's so sharp with her Scorpio, and she's such a student with Aquarius that she pretty much worked it through and solved it. You guys don't understand yet, and it's because I haven't taught you. Aquarians are maniacs, okay? They're just maniacal about studying stuff. They're just really good. They just hunker down and figure things out. Brilliant sign. I can't wait next lifetime. That's what I want to be. Okay. We could take time out. Open your microphone. You can't all tell me Sag. What do you want to be in your next lifetime? What's everybody want to be? Come on, one leg.
Ascended.
You want to be ascended. Diane. wants
That's
to
a
be
good answer.
Erica, what do you want to be?
I guess you've talked me into Aquarius.
That's what I want to be. Everybody else? Claudia?
I gotta say, I used to want to be a Sag. Now I want to be an Aquarius. The more I know about Aquarius, the more I'm like, wow, that's a great freaking sign.
Well, it's got its problems, but it's a really,
Yeah.
it's a really good sign. And
Yeah.
Sag has got more of a downside than people think.
Mhm.
Okay, everybody, thank you. Let me move on. Looks like I'm going to be able to get everybody done, which is very good. Okay, Ray, does that make sense to you, Ray? What I said?
Yeah, it does. I think also that that because my Jupiter is trine my my Saturn, that kind of keeps it keeps delusion at bay.
Yeah, I like that Jupiter helps that Saturn. I'm really, as I go through the years, you know me, if I see something that doesn't work, I'll tell you. But as I've gone through the years, trines are really powerful.
Sure.
As I've learned. They're really good things. And the real good side comes out of both planets.
Nice.
Not in a square, not in a conjunction, but trines just are really, they're dancing the waltz and they're getting along really well. Okay. No more dancing, Rick. Okay. Linda P. Where did they have? There's Linda P over there. All right. We've talked about your chart a good bit, but not lately. Okay. Okay. We got the Scorpio rising. All right. Okay, Linda. Linda's a Libra. And I must tell you, if you studied with astrologers in the past 20, 30 years, that Saturn-Neptune conjunction that went on in the 1950s is really, really hard to figure out. I've seen a lot of people with it. It's really difficult to get an identity when you're next to the planet of identity and no identity, form and no form. And I know a lot of Libra people that were born with their sun between the two. Now, don't give me that stuff. You've got a very strong, solid sense of identity because of your moon in Scorpio, but you're not like the other ones I've seen. I've seen a lot of Libras totally lost with their sun in between these two. Now is when you zoom in, Miss Claudia, this is when you zoom in to the midpoint. Now look at my midpoint listing. Sun is not even on the list. My orb is 1 degree, see? 1 degree. So it would only show up on that list if it were within 1 degree. What do we see here? The sun is 6 degrees away, but the sun is 8 degrees away here. It's very close. Okay, so this means she's very Libran. She's got 4 planets there. This means she leans towards being very Piscean. This means she leans towards being very Capricornian. So we already got Libra, Capricorn, Pisces. Boom, Scorpio. Heavy duty Scorpio. Now, look at the likes of this. How delightful is this? The midheaven's 2 degrees. The midheaven is within 1 degree of this and 3 degrees of that. So the Venus and Mars are known for being very charming planets, very nice planets. They mix together very well. Look in closer. The Mars in Leo is very dynamic. I say I'm going to do something, I do it. The Venus in Virgo is very particular. So that's kind of a nice combination, right on a Virgo midheaven. So I think she puts a lot of pizzazz into her work. And I think if you interviewed all these students that took her classes, they would say that word. She's got pizzazz. She's got charisma. Now, look at this. Huge. Why is this planet huge? The tip of a T-square. See the T-square? The Uranus. Now you zoom in closely to examine the number of degrees. 13, 8, 10. So it's not real close, but anyhow, she's very Aquarian. Okay, and when Uranus is in the 8th house is money, etc. But the 8th house is, what's the word, John? It's the occult, digging in deep into the occult, not afraid to go in. Let me tell you something. Beside Timothy Leary, Libras don't go into the occult. They just don't do it. They go to the Ritz Hotel. They don't go to the occult stuff. All right?
They go for brunch.
What?
They go for brunch.
That's damn right. I go for brunch. I get my nails all dirty. You kidding me? But anyhow, with that Uranus there, and she's been one of my best students I've ever taught, she picks it up like this. Just picks it up like this. Quick. And that's where that comes from. Now, it's not just with astrology, but I know you're an English professor. I would imagine most complex systems that you're given, you pick it up like that.
That's really easy for me, all that stuff.
See that? Okay. So you're very Aquarian. Okay. So what the funny thing here is this. On the relationship side, you got all the Libra and Scorpio. Relationships are the end to me, the end all be all. It's got to be really good or I'll die. Right? That's Libra, Scorpio. On the Aquarian side, I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'll be all right by myself. So how do the two meet? So you've got both abilities. So what happens to a chart like yours is you got to pay attention to what's happening now. If the Uranus is being hit now, you're going to favor that freedom side, etc. So I think we got a really amazing chart, a nice chart, and it's not simple, and that's guaranteed by what? Your chart is not simple, and that's guaranteed because you got so much Scorpio energy near the ascendant, near the midheaven. When you have a lot of Scorpio in your chart, you're going to have a life that goes, and when you do midpoint charts and you find Pluto real strong in your chart, the couple will just go up and down and up and down. They just will. And where do I get this stuff from? I didn't make it up. This all comes from Stephen Arroyo's Karma and Transformation. Because Arroyo is the expert on relationship stuff. Okay, he just is. I highly recommend it. Let's keep moving on. So I got you nailed, I think. Miss Linda P. We got Aquarius.
Just don't forget the bucket pattern to Jupiter.
Well, I'm certainly not going to forget that when it's right next to Eris. Mine's at 6 degrees. That's really, really excellent. You got a really, really strong Jupiter, strong Sag Aries streak in you. And they say it's the ruler of Libra. So what this is about, Jupiter and Eris, what they have in common is cause-oriented, battling for a cause. Does that sound like you, Jeff?
You know, I had a colleague that said once that I like to ride to the sound of the guns. You know, meaning that if there was a fight going on somewhere, I'm going to be in it.
You're in it, and you always do it tastefully. That Libra ability makes me sick. They land on their feet. They're just so tasteful. I always land on my side or my head, but you guys figured it out. Very good. Thank you, Linda. And we're going to go to Diane, who I haven't seen in a couple months. Hello, Diane. Asked to unmute.
Hello there.
Okay, let's go to Diane. Diane, there. Okay, Diane S. All right, let me get it on your screen. Tell you what, you guys, this ain't easy. You gotta try doing this some night. This is not easy. Some night I'm gonna hand it all to Claudia. Claudia, you do it. Okay. Diane, the Aries. All right. Anytime you get Venus next to the sun, which is very common because Venus can only be 5 places, it stays close to the sun. It's a person who enjoys their life. They have a natural joy of life, which is a nice thing. Opposite Neptune. Pisces, 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 Pisces. Sun, Aries, Libra, Pisces. Aries, Libra, Pisces. T-square, Aquarius. That makes sense? Look at that hairdo. Uranus is in Leo. Woo! Leo people have big hair, big expressive hair. Okay. Are you very sensitive, Diane? I think you are.
I can be.
Okay. She can be. Let's see what the moon and Sag said. It said, well, let's hold on and see what you talk about. We got a little bit of Sag energy going on here. Thank God these are 9 degrees, 11 degrees apart. You got a lot of Aquarius here. So your main stuff is you kind of have a bucket pattern. I'm not sure. Kind of a bucket pattern to Chiron and Aquarius. Are you a real good researcher?
I really related to what you said about Aquarians, where they just like dig into stuff. And yeah, I love to do that.
Okay, that's not an Aries quality. You're getting that strong from this Virgoan planet stuck in Aquarius. So this is a really good, like count the beans, get the taxes done, get it down right to the penny. So you have a pretty nice chart. You're pretty well spread out, which I really like. This is much more spread out than most charts. That's a very good sign. I'm not sure how strong the Libra rising is, but we do see a very powerful Eris here that they say is a ruler of Libra, which will keep the jury out on that. So for you, it's pretty simple. Sun, Libra, Aries, Pisces, Aquarian, Sag, Aquarian once again, Virgo. So how does that sound to you?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a sense of what Libra is. Libra's gracious, right? Or
They're very smooth, they're very professional, charming, they can't stand conflict, but yet they're arguing all the time. Well dressed, very much stylish. They got to be in style with everything.
yeah, I don't think that's really strong for me.
Okay.
Definitely relate to the Aquarian and the Pisces. I mean, I've been, into otherworldly stuff since I was a kid.
Well, also you can take the other side of Venus. Remember I told you sometimes you seem wrong when you flip the planet on the side. Venus can also be the Taurian side of Venus, which is the love of food, the love of earth, get your feet out in the mud, go hiking, see. So you're picking up the Taurian side of Venus as opposed to the Libran side. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane, you're welcome. I think we're down to Marcia and John. Dr. John, is that right?
Yeah, you can pass on me, Rick.
No, I'm not.
It's
No,
not like you don't work with me.
I'm not going to. I'm going to go to you last, and then you can do me, and I'll turn the camera on. I'm just giving you a hard time. Marcia, bud.
Hello.
Okay, here comes Marcia. Okay, Marcia. Okay. Now, Marcia, I know your chart like the back of my hand, but anyhow, let's see what we find here. Okay. Of course, you're very Capricornian and you're very Aquarian because you got the moon in Aquarius and you're born with Sun opposite Uranus. So you're very Capricornian, very Aquarian, which makes sense of what I was telling you earlier about contrarious. You can go one way or the other. You and I both have a lot of Libra in us. That's why we like socializing, and you're very comfortable on Broadway. And Broadway's just talk about Neptune. If Broadway's anything, it's Neptunian. You just got all these people in all these costumes just coming out of nowhere. And that goes back to college days and all these people that are just off the wall, crazy drama parties. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Why ain't that the truth? Okay. Now, I can't find you on my list. You're being Neptunian on me. Where'd you go? I don't know. Okay. You're very, very Aquarian because of the Uranus opposition. Now, you're very close to Chiron. So I think this really helps you. And this is a major difference between you and I, is your Chiron's really close to your sun. And I think that Chiron definitely gives you Virgo qualities, getting the job done, which is a Capricorn thing, getting things fixed, getting things done right. Okay, this is very, very strong. Now, this T-square down to Jupiter, I mean, you're really, really Jupiterian, very Jovian is the word, and Jupiter's next to Eris. So I think you do have a lot of Sag in you, a lot of Aries in you, a lot of Aquarius, a lot of Libra, a lot of Capricorn, a lot of Virgo, and a lot of Aquarius. If you'd like to buy 5 of those, they're about $10 each. Don't you think? I think it really sounds like you.
Yeah, that's a good price.
Yeah, I've always known you to be very Jovian, and that means somebody's got a laugh going on. It ain't gonna take much to get Marcia laughing too.
True.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
Marcia.
Yeah, thank you.
You are welcome. And let's get John, Dr. John. He knows the answers.
Hey,
And
Ray.
all we got to do, Susan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll get to Susan now, then we'll end with John. Okay. Susan, I apologize. First one on my list. Susan already knows the answer. But anyhow, we'll do it anyway. Let's take a look. Susan is a Sagittarian with a moon in Gemini. And those two things are so similar. They're both very strong. Okay, one is on an individual level, one is on a group level. It's the only difference. Okay, Scorpionic, very Scorpionic, very Saturnian, just because of Saturn's proximity to Venus, and they're both squaring the ascendant. Okay, so you're very Sag, very Gemini, very Scorpio, very Capricorn. That's 4 already. Now, we got a grand trine Mars, Moon, Neptune. But more importantly, this is a beautiful Neptune. Look at this Neptune. It's at the tip of a T-square. It's the tip of a grand trine. So this Neptune's really, really strong. So therefore, follow me now, therefore, your Neptune or your Pisces side is very strong. And it's also strong because it's the co-ruler of Sagittarius. Okay? Where did she go on my screen? She went away somewhere. Anyhow, Neptune's very big. It's the co-ruler of Sag, so it coincides with the Sag properties right there. But I think everybody's getting the idea. So the chart's very clear, and then I'll go to, where did you go, Susan?
I'm right here. I'm
I
in Findlay State Park.
I can't see you, but anyhow, I'm going to reiterate. Your chart is very much Sag, Scorpio, Capricorn, Pisces. This is a bucket pattern of Mars. Sort of. Got a big gap there. Sagittarian, Geminian, very Neptunian. very Piscean. And the artist in you is not the Sag in you, it's the Pisces. Thank you very much. We'll end now with John. Dr. John. John S. Okay, John, I think we've kind of done this before, but
Probably.
we need to freshen it up. Okay, certainly you're very Taurian. That has a-
Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. And that has a Virgo quality with Chiron next to it. Opposite Aquarius. So you're very Taurus and you're very Aquarian. Look at this Pluto, powerful, squaring the ascendant, very scorpionic. Pluto's opposite Chiron Mercury. I'm the Eris Mercury. So this is an explosive, cause-oriented mind. Really
Do you
powerful.
think?
Huh?
I said, gee, you think?
Yeah, I think so. You got the T squared of Mars here.
Yeah.
See, I think you're a very good
Yeah.
example. I've often wondered this myself with the Leo. I think a lot of the warmth that you have, and you give up a lot of warmth, I think it really is Leonine.
I can see that. That does make sense.
Yeah, I think it does. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It really does. I wondered about that too with the Mars and Mars square.
Yours is not a simple one.
No.
There's so many energy. So many energies going on at once. Let's reiterate here. We got the Sun, Virgo, Taurus qualities. We get this really daring, strong, powerful Mercury right next to powerful Eris, which is opposite Pluto. So you got a very powerful, in other words, if I'm putting you in a room with a whole lot of differing opinions, you're going to stand your ground. You're going to stand your ground, which is a very Taurian thing anyway.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You're
Absolutely.
going to stand your ground. You have good stick to itness. Lot of Leo, the Mars is strong. The Leo is strong at the tip of this T square here.
Mhm.
So anyhow, what you see by tonight is you see that we all have so much more than our sun sign. And it's kind of heartbreaking when you see people talk to you about their sun sign. I'm not much like that. And astrology must be stupid. I don't understand. I can understand how they feel. They don't know how to do all these different things. So anyhow, I'll send you all a bill later. I'll see you next Thursday night. This will be up on YouTube in a couple hours. I hope it helped you think about this stuff a little better. Okay, Dr. John?
Oh, sounds good, Rick. Thank you.
Both the Dr. Johns.
Yeah.
Good night to everybody.
Good night,
Have
everyone.
fun.
Thanks, Rick.
Bye-bye.